Let us now install an Apache server in 2 instances at a time. So I want to make sure that the Systems Manager can see the instances. So now if I click here under Manage Instances, Systems Manager, it's able to see the 4 instances. I'm going to install the Apache server here in these 2 instances, the ones that have the name SSM managed instance. But first, I want to be able to SSH in one of the instances. So I'm going to come here on their instances and click on one of them, the first one. I want to get, this is taking longer than usual. Okay, let me refresh this. I want to get the public IP to be able to SSH into the instance. I want to make this bigger. And then I want to SSH-I. Then the name of my key is SSM key pair.pem. The user is EC2-user at, and then the public IP. And then if I enter, I say yes, and I can log in into the instance. That's okay, perfect. I'm able to see this successful login. Now, I want to be able to see the metadata of my instance. So that's the data about the data. Okay, I want to be able to see the instance ID. I want to be able to see the AMI ID, the host name, public IP, private IP, if it is possible. So for that, I want to become a root user, and then I want to run this command: curl http :// and then I want to type 169.254.169.254, and then I want to say latest, and then metadata. That will give me all the categories here in the metadata. So this is all the information that I can see in my instance. Now, if I want to see, for example, I want to see the AMI ID, I can say, for example, the same command, but now I'm going to add the AMI ID. And that will bring the AMI ID, which is here. Okay, that's the AMI ID. If you take a look at the information here, is the same information as here, the AMI ID. So that's possible. Now, I want to, for example, I want to store that AMI ID into a variable. So I can put this in a variable, AMI ID, and then I want to store that in a variable, and I want to run that command. So now, if I put that inside parentheses, I get the information, and I can say echo, which is print the AMI ID. And I bring the AMI ID. So why am I doing this? Because when I install the Apache server, I want to be able to do this in the script that I'm going to run in the instance. So now that we know this, we can see the metadata, all of this information. We can see all this. I'm going to make this a little smaller, and I come back here to Systems Manager. I'm going to come back to Systems Manager. And I'm here in Systems Manager. Okay. So now what I want to do, I want to run a command. And for that, I'm going to click on Documents. And Documents, I here have all the pre-existing documents that are created by AWS. All of this. I have like 6 pages here. More, 5, 6, 7, 8, and many pages of documents, okay, that I can run on instances or other services. What I want to do is run a shell command, and that's going to be run shell script. Now I'm going to click here, and this run a shell script or specify the commands to run. And for that, I'm going to use run command, the run command feature of Systems Manager, which is right here, run command. That is linked to the documents. So documents are this type of document, which is a command document, is used with run command as well. So I'm going to click here on run command. This is going to bring me to another page. And here, I'm going to install that Apache server. Okay. So here we have more information, but this is we're going to do it later. For now, I'm going to say yum, which is the package installer, the package manager. I'm going to say -y, which is I want to say yes to every question that is asked in the process of installation. And I want to say I want to install HTTPD. That's the server, Apache server. Now that I have written that line, I want to say systemctl, which is the command that is used to enable, disable, start, stop services. In this case, the service is the HTTP server, HTTPD server, Apache server. I want to say start HTTPD. I want to start the service. I want to enable as well, enable the server. And now that I did this, I want to do the same thing that I did here before. Remember the variable? I want to say, for example, I want to print the host name. So I can say host, and then I can say curl HTTP and say 169.254, 169.254. And by the way, this is the URL for every instance. No matter what instance it is, you just have to be logged in, and then it will grab the metadata for you. Now we say latest, we say metadata, and then we say host name is here, so we can say host name. Okay, so now we have the host name. I also want to bring the instance ID. I want to say curl HTTP, and by the way, curl stands for client URL, and URL stands for Uniform Resource Locator. HTTP ://169.254.169.254, and then latest, and then I can say metadata, and this is the data about the instance, and instance ID, which is here. Okay, so we can bring that there. Now I can say echo, which is what's going to be printed in the browser. I can say HTML. That's HTML language. Heading H1. I'm going to say hello from host name, and then I refer to the variable. Let's say host, and instance ID, instance ID. make this a little bit bigger. Now I close the h1 tag, and this has to be inside the quotation. I close the HTML tag, and now I close the quotation. Now I want to redirect this to a file, so I want to create the file. In Linux, this symbol here, greater than, will create a file if the file doesn't exist. So I'm going to create a file inside var, which is a folder. And then inside var, there's another folder named www. And then inside www, there's another folder called HTML. And then inside HTML, I want to create that file and call it index.html. So now I have this. Let me check. HTML is open. H1 open. Hello from host name host, which is the variable here that's holding the host name, and instance ID, $instance ID, which is this instance ID that's holding this value. Close H1, close HTML, close the quotation mark, redirect var www HTML index.html. So that should be fine. Let me check here. Install systemctl start HTTPD system ctl enable HTTPD host curl data metadata host name. Okay, everything's fine. So now I continue creating this run command. So the working directory is the path to the working directory on your instance. We don't need that. The execution timeout, the time in seconds for a command to complete before it is considered to have failed. Default is 3,600, which is an hour. Maximum is 48 hours. 172,800 seconds. Now I can either do it, specify the instance tags, choose instances manually, or use a resource group. So I'm going to choose the instances manually. So in this case, I'm going to choose these two, the ones that have this. Okay. Or I could have specified instance tags. That is possible too. So I'm going to deselect these instances, and I'm going to say specify name tags. So this was going to be name, and this was SSM manage instance. So I had that, and then I don't see them here, but they are visible. Or I can simply refer to the resource group, and I have here the instances that I created before, but I'm going to select them manually, like I said before, these two. So this comment is optional, and this is the timeout seconds. Specify the timeout for commands in seconds. Rate control, I can specify the concurrency, specify the number of percentage of targets on which to execute the task at the same time. 50 targets. In this case, I only have 2. I can enable an S3 bucket. I don't want to do that now. I can have SNS notifications with a role or a topic, all that. I don't need that. And I can have the output command in the CLI. So I can grab this and paste it in the CLI, and I would get the same result. So that's what Systems Manager does in run commands, that it gives you the solution in the CLI as well. So now I'm going to run this command, and let's see what happens. So it's already in progress. So it's saying here that the status is in progress. Command description right here. Command parameters. This is the script, the shell script. And now if I refresh this, I got success. So now this has been installed. So if I click on one of the instances, I will be able to see the output. This is all that happened. Running transaction check, package httpd.x86_64 will be installed. all the processing dependencies, and finally it finished dependency resolution. So everything is fine. And now I can go ahead and click on the instances. So I can come here, and here under EC2, I can come and click on instances, and I can grab one of these two instances. In fact, I'm going to test both. I can come to the first one, grab the IP address, and then I can just type this, and I get this information. Hello from host name. This is the host name, and instance ID, this one. So I'm going to get the other one. I'm going to go back and get the other one instance. This is the other one. So I'm going to get the IP address of the first one, of this one. So I'm going to paste it here, and I get this. Perfect. So the instance ID of this one is 353. This one is AD5C. And the host is different as well. So as you can see, I was able to manage two managed instances in Systems Manager at a time, which is an advantage. You can have 20, 25, 30 instances and install software, patches, servers at a time in those 20 instances, which is a huge advantage that you can have over going one by one and installing the server in each one. That's a lot of work. With Systems Manager, you have a lot of advantages, and then you save a lot of time and effort. So I hope you understood this, how to install an Apache server and several instances at the same time with the least overhead and the most effective way. I hope you liked it, and I'll see you in the next video.